Read in other languages, it takes us out of ourselves in a way that few other things do, and reminds us that different nations have different rhythms. I was in Mexico recently, and I was reminded that Mexico has a rhythm that is its own rhythm, and it's not the same as the rhythm of the United States. And when you see the two trying to work together, it's sometimes an interesting sight. And listening to readings in German and in Russian give me that same feeling of difference, and enjoying the feeling of trying to catch that rhythm and be part of that rhythm, hopefully understand that rhythm. And words have the power to do that. Words have amazing power. And I think sometimes we forget that. I certainly do. But words have the power to sustain us and to lift us up over the challenges of life. Borges' blindness being a very good example, where undeterred, Borges continued to, in his later years, write his poems rather than his famous stories, because he could write his poems in his head. He could carry them in his head more easily and dictate them to his support crew, who would then write them for him and read them back. And when you think of that process of words taking shape in our minds, it's reminiscent of those wonderful photographs we've seen taken in deep space, of those massive spirals of dust and stars just swirling silently in the darkness out there. Sometimes I think that's what it feels like to write a poem. Sometimes that's how it feels to hear it. Well, finally, it is my pleasure to introduce Liliana Valenzuela, who wears many different hats. She is a literary translator, poet, essayist, and journalist. A member of the AATIA, we're very proud to have her as one of our members, and the Macondo Writers Workshop, and founding member of CantoMundo. She also works for Ahora Sí, the Austin American-Statesman Spanish weekly publication. Her bilingual poetry chapbook, Codex of Journeys, Bendito, Camino, was published in 2012. And you don't need me to tell you that it's on the table over there, right? We've done that. Liliana has translated Sandra Cisneros, Julia Alvarez, Dagoberto Gilb, and many other well-known writers. Tonight she'll be reading from her translation of A House of My Own by Sandra Cisneros, and a couple of her own poems that either she or Angela McEwen translated. And she will be accompanied tonight by her friend, also a poet, Celeste Mendoza. Please join me in welcoming these two lovely ladies, Liliana and Celeste.
We'll have to put it in the middle because Celeste is tall and I'm short. Hello everyone, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to the readers, Kurt and Jamie, it was wonderful, enjoyed it. And I want to dedicate this reading to my friend and translator, Angela McEwen, who left us last year, and also in the memory of my father, who passed away this summer. And we're going to start the reading from A House of My Own by Sandra Cisneros. Is a collection of stories from her life, personal essays, some that she had written for different audiences at different times, and then she wrote a couple new stories at the beginning about her life in Greece, and then the one at the end about her present life in Mexico. She's been living in San Miguel de Allende for the past couple years. So some of her impressions some of her thoughts about it. So it's like little vignettes that we'll be reading from, and they're excerpts from this last long chapter. And she is originally from Chicago. Her father was from Mexico City, so she grew up with a combination of Mexican from Mexico background and Mexican American from Chicago, and then she lived in Texas for a while. So she has like all these different types of languages that she blends and plays with. And this year has been a good year for Sandra Cisneros. She was just given the Medal of the Humanities by President Obama a couple weeks ago. She also received the PEN Award for memoir for A House of My Own. So it's been lots of good things. Now Celeste will be doing the honors. I'm so happy because she's a wonderful reader, wonderful poet herself, and she's also one of the co-founders of CantoMundo, which is the national organization for Latino poets and poetry. And she'll read the English original, so she'll be our Sandra tonight. And I'll read my Spanish translation, and we'll just go back and forth. Mi casa es su casa.
I came to Guanajuato because they sent for me. My mother's people, grandfather José Eleuterio Cordero Rodríguez and grandmother Felipa Anguiano Rizo. And perhaps their people as well, spirits all. I wake in the middle of the night and receive their message.
Vine a Guanajuato porque me mandaron llamar. La gente de mi mamá, el abuelo José Eleuterio Cordero Rodríguez y la abuela Felipa Anguiano Rizo, y quizá también su gente, espíritus todos ellos. Despierto a medianoche y recibo su mensaje.
I have roots in these lands, centuries old. But though we drove through neighboring Querétaro often on our way to visit father's relatives in Mexico City when I was a child, we always bypassed Guanajuato. There was no one, after all we knew. Mother's family had all fled north during the time of violence, the Mexican Revolution, with stories that they wished they could forget. They took with them only what they could fit inside a shawl, only what they could haul with their own bodies.
Tengo raíces en estas tierras que datan de siglos, pero aunque a menudo manejábamos por el vecino Querétaro de camino a los parientes de mi papá en la Ciudad de México cuando era niña, siempre pasábamos de largo por Guanajuato. No había nadie después de todo que conociéramos. Toda la familia de mi mamá había huido al norte en la época de la violencia, la Revolución Mexicana, con historias que desearían olvidar. Se llevaron solo lo que les cabía en un rebozo, solo lo que pudieron acarrear con sus propios cuerpos.
Now, 100 years after that migration north, I find myself returning in their place, again, during a time of violence. I'm going back to a region where we came from, Guanajuato, to a town founded 79 years before the Pilgrim's Mayflower landing.
Ahora, 100 años después de aquella migración al norte, me encuentro a mí misma regresando en su lugar, de nuevo durante la época de la violencia. Regreso a la región de donde vinimos, Guanajuato, a un pueblo fundado 79 años antes del amerizaje del Mayflower de los colonos ingleses.
Walking the dogs, I come upon two men hauling a wheelbarrow filled with 3 boulders the size of cement sacks, a delivery for someone's garden. They're hauling these as a beast with a cart would, one pulling and the other pushing with all their might.
Al sacar a pasear a mis perros, me encuentro con 2 hombres que acarrean una carretilla llena de 3 rocas del tamaño de costales de cemento. Una entrega para el jardín de alguien. La carrean como una bestia, con una carreta lo haría. Uno jalando y el otro empujando con todas sus fuerzas.
It's February, the time for the Feast of the Candelaria, and Juárez Park is filled with vendors selling plants. I meet the two men in Balcones neighborhood at one of the highest points of the town, a neighborhood of huge houses with huge vistas, as if the larger the house, the larger the slice of sky to go with it.
Es febrero, época de la fiesta de la Candelaria, y el Parque Juárez está lleno de vendedores vendiendo plantas. Me encuentro a los dos hombres en la colonia Balcones, en uno de los puntos más altos del pueblo, una colonia de casas enormes, con una amplia vista panorámica, como si mientras más grande fuera la casa, más grande el pedazo de cielo que le corresponde.
These two pobres infelices, unhappy souls, one, an older man, just a piece of gristle on bone, hauling the wheelbarrow, a face like a sock stretched from overuse, slack and baggy. The other, thick from a bad diet, has tied a yellow macate, a plastic rug, round and around his waist, and is pulling the wheelbarrow uphill like a workhorse.
These two pobres infelices. Estos dos pobres infelices. Uno, un hombre mayor, puro pellejo y hueso, empujando la carretilla. Una cara como un calcetín aguado de tanto uso, flácido y guango. El otro, grueso debido a una mala dieta, trae amarrado un mecate amarillo de plástico que le da vueltas y vueltas a la cintura y está jalando la carretilla cuesta arriba como un caballo de tiro.
What do you have there? A pyramid? I ask. We've bought it all the way from Juarez Park, the grandfather says proudly. The cab drivers refuse to take us, so we've had to walk, the chubby one asks. What a cavalry, I say. I hope you'll mention you came walking all the way so you'll get reimbursed for your efforts. We hope so, they say. And after resting only a moment, they continue upward, tugging beyond their strength, aguantando beyond anyone's imagination.
¿Qué llevan ahí? ¿Una pirámide?, les pregunto. Lo venimos cargando desde el Parque Juárez, dice el abuelo orgulloso. Los taxistas no nos querían traer, así que tuvimos que caminar, agrega el gordito. ¡Qué calvario!, les digo. Espero que mencionen que se vinieron a pie todo el camino para que los recompensen por su esfuerzo. Ojalá, dicen. Y después de descansar por solo un momento siguen cuesta arriba, tirando más allá de sus fuerzas, aguantando más allá de la imaginación de cualquiera.
When I was in high school, I took a class for Spanish speakers. One of the assignments each week was a list of vocabulary words. One of the vocabulary words was ametralladora, machine gun. When will I ever need to use that word, I thought.
Cuando yo estaba en la preparatoria, tomé una clase de español para hispanohablantes. Una de las tareas cada semana era una lista de palabras de vocabulario. Una de las palabras del vocabulario era ametralladora. ¿Cuándo voy a usar esa palabra?, pensé.
Now that I'm living in Mexico, I'm startled by the ubiquity of machine guns the local police carry as calmly as if carrying plastic shopping bags. At the downtown street corners, in every national parade, at the office depot. Even now, with no machine gun in sight, I can't go into the office depot without experiencing an involuntary shudder.
Ahora que vivo en México, me asusta ver las ametralladoras que carga la policía local por doquier, como si cargaran bolsas de plástico del mercado. En las esquinas de las calles del centro, en todos los desfiles nacionales, en el Office Depot. Aún ahora, sin ninguna ametralladora a la vista, entrar al Office Depot, no puedo entrar al Office Depot sin sentir un escalofrío involuntario.
When Auntie Baby Dog was alive, she had to go to Mexico City regularly to collect the rents on a building she owned. But Auntie, I asked, aren't you afraid? Oh, no, Auntie told me over the telephone. Not at all. I stay over by the military school where they have policemen everywhere carrying ametralladoras. I feel nice and safe.
Cuando tía Muñeca vivía, tenía que ir seguido a la Ciudad de México a recolectar las rentas de un edificio de su propiedad. Pero tía, le preguntaba, ¿no te da miedo? Ay, no, me decía mi tía por teléfono, para nada. Me quedo muy cerca del colegio militar donde tienen policías por todos lados cargando ametralladoras. Me siento muy segura.
Where is the country where a woman can feel safe? Is there such a country? When I was living in Europe, I often cited Virginia Woolf. As a woman, I have no country. As a woman, my country is the whole world. I would amend that to the current times. As a woman, I have no country. As a woman, I'm an immigrant in the whole world.
¿Dónde está el país donde una mujer pueda sentirse segura? ¿Existe tal país? Cuando vivía en Europa, con frecuencia citaba a Virginia Woolf. Como mujer no tengo patria. Como mujer, mi patria es el mundo entero. Lo modificaría para la época actual. Como mujer, no tengo patria. Como mujer, soy una inmigrante en el mundo entero.
I have no place in Mexican society as a woman who has borne no children. If I was young, I might have a future purpose. But as I'm past childbearing years, well beyond being una señorita, the town doesn't know what to think of me.
No tengo un lugar en la sociedad mexicana como una mujer que no ha parido hijos. Si fuera joven, tendría un propósito en el futuro. Pero como ya estoy más allá de los años fértiles, mucho más allá de ser una señorita, el pueblo no sabe qué pensar de mí.
Calixto and Catalina, my employees, insist on calling me señora out of respect. But as I'm no one's mother, how can I answer to that? Besides, señora smacks of a prissy church lady. I don't ever want to be una señora.
Calixto y Catalina, mis empleados, insisten en llamarme señora, por respeto. Pero como no soy madre de nadie, ¿cómo responder ese llamado? Además, señora me sabe a una beata remilgada. No quiero ser nunca una señora.
One morning when walking into town, I salute two laborers on the street near Los Arcos de Atascadero. They're country people wearing baseball caps, resting along the side of the road where the natural springs spout and the cab drivers like to park to wash their cars.
Una mañana, cuando camino al pueblo, saludo a dos trabajadores en la calle cerca de Los Arcos. Son gente del campo, con sus gorritas de béisbol, descansando al lado del camino donde brota el agua de un manantial, y a los taxistas les gusta estacionarse para lavar sus coches.
Buenos días, I say to them both. Buenos días, ceñito, they reply buoyantly. They use the country term that is neither señora nor señorita, but something like a cross between the two, like man. Buenos días, ceñito. It occurs to me then and there. That's who I am here in Mexico. I'm ceñito.
Buenos días, les digo a los dos. Buenos días, ceñito, responden alegremente. Usan esa palabra del campo que no es ni señora ni señorita, sino algo como una mezcla de ambas, como ma'am en inglés. Buenos días, ceñito. Se me ocurre en ese mismo instante que eso es lo que yo soy aquí en México, una ceñito.
A dog barks. In the distance, the drums from the Matechines dancers who have been drumming and dancing all day for today's fiesta, like a tribe announcing warfare. At night, the town echoes with boleros, mariachi, banda music, fireworks, a rooster, always a rooster, church bells. I think of Emily Dickinson's recipe for a prairie. To make a prairie, it takes a clover and one bee. To make a pueblo, it takes a church bell and a rooster. Fireworks will do if roosters are few.
A la distancia, los tambores de los matachines que han estado tocando los tambores y bailando todo el día para la fiesta de hoy, como una tribu anunciando la guerra. Por la noche, el pueblo hace eco de boleros, mariachis, música de banda, fuegos artificiales, un gallo, siempre agrega un gallo, las campanas de la iglesia. Pienso en la receta de Emily Dickinson para una pradera, para hacer una...
United States a new name. Instead of Los Estados Unidos, the United States, he referred to it as Los Asustados Unidos, the United States of fear. We are living in the age of susto, fear, on both sides, on all sides, on all borders across the globe.
Poco después de los atentados del 11 de septiembre, en un programa de radio en México, uno de los que llamaban dio a Estados Unidos un nuevo nombre. En lugar de los Estados Unidos, se refirió a este como los Asustados Unidos. Estamos viviendo en la época del susto, a ambos lados, en todos lados, en todas las fronteras, por toda la tierra.
When I remind Mexicans of the abductions and disappearances in their country, the political corruption, human rights violations, and drug wars, they counter, yes, but we don't have to send our children to school and fear that they will be assassinated by other children.
Cuando les recuerdo a los mexicanos sobre los secuestros y las desapariciones en su propio país, la corrupción política, las violaciones a los derechos humanos y la guerra contra las drogas, contraargumentan. Sí, pero no tenemos que mandar a nuestros niños a la escuela con miedo a que los asesinen otros niños.
The paradox is this: fear unites us, fear divides us. In a post-9/11 United States with so much vitriol allowed in the media towards people who look like me, I no longer feel at home. You shouldn't be afraid in your own house.
La paradoja es esta: el miedo nos une, el miedo nos separa. En un Estados Unidos después del 11 de septiembre, donde se permite tanto veneno en los medios hacia la gente que se parece a mí, ya no me siento en casa, en mi casa. No deberías tener miedo en tu propia casa.
Often in interviews, I'm asked, how is it that I identify as both Mexican and American? And I reply, well, you have a mother and a father, right? How is it that you can love both? Huh? Loving one doesn't cancel out the other.
A menudo en entrevistas me preguntan, ¿cómo es que me identifico como mexicana tanto como americana? A lo que contesto, bueno, pues tú tienes a una madre y a un padre, ¿no? ¿Cómo puedes quererlos a los dos? Amar a uno no anula al otro. And this is it for this selection from una casa propia. Read 3 short poems of my own from the Codex of Journeys, Bendito, Camino. And they're short. And this one was translated by Angela McEwen.
Cosmic siren breathes through letter gills, writhing with pleasure, curled up in a coral cave. Duality, earth, sea, fire, water, sand. Watery greenish flow seeps through the openings of the aorta and the foreskin.
And here's the Spanish original. Sirena cósmica, respira por letras branquias, se retuerce de gozo, ovillo en cueva de coral, dualidad, terra-mar, agua-fuego, arena, Fluye acuosa, verdosa se cuela por los orificios de la aorta y el prepucio.
She should have been a nun in a convent, baking daily bread, singing hymns from dawn to dusk, unattached to the weary world and its heartache. Silent for days, communing with flowers, birds and garden poppies, crimson, red tears of blood from the calyx, drinking Christ's blood from a poppy leaf. Alone, in silent company, barefoot, sackcloth habit, penitence for the world, kneeling in the lionless desert, frosty, cold cell, Moorish arches enveloping silence.
So that was the English original, and then I translated it into Spanish. And it's inspired by a visit to the convent in the Desierto de los Leones that some of you may know in Mexico City. It's a convent right in the middle of the forest, and there is neither a desert and there are no lions. But I don't know where that name came about. Debió haber sido monja en un convento, horneando el pan cotidiano, cantando himnos de sol a sol, sin vínculos con el agobiante mundo y su dolor. En silencio durante días, en comunión con las flores, los pájaros y las amapolas del jardín. Gotas de sangre rojo carmesí del cáliz, bebiendo la sangre de Cristo de una hoja de amapola. Sola en silente compañía, descalza, hábito de costal, penitencia para el mundo, de rodillas en el desierto sin leones, celda fría y escarchada, arabizantes arcos, cubetas de sigilio. And we'll read one more, and before that I want to thank again Malvern Books for having us, for hosting us, the AATIA, the Translators Organization here in town, for everything you do, all the volunteers who help set up the food and the snacks and help program this event, and happy Translators Day to everyone.
Postscript. To the 1% of the population who has an interest in poetry, who reads it, absorbs it, recites it, sings it, drinks it, shares it, makes it their own. To you I sing these lines, with nothing to rescue them from oblivion. If it weren't that they are yours, because you inspire them and improve them with the depth of your mind, of your soul, so they reverberate in your experience, unique, unrepeatable. You give them strength, you give them breath.
And this one was actually inspired, I think, in a Brodsky quote, where he said that the population who's interested in poetry remains a constant 1% across the ages. But you know, over the ages, that's a lot of people. Epílogo. Para el 1% de la población que te interesas por la poesía, que la lees, la interiorizas, la recitas, la cantas, la bebes, la compartes, la haces tuya, a ti te canto estas líneas, sin nada que las rescate del olvido, a no ser porque son tuyas, porque tú las inspiras y las mejoras con el contenido de tu mente y de tu alma. Las haces reverberar en tu experiencia única e irrepetible. Les das fuerza y vida. Thank you, Celeste. Thank you.
Thank you, Liliana and Celeste. I think Sandra will be very proud of the stand-in tonight. Who said poetry readings can't be fun? Well, Liliana just read from 2 books which are on the table back there. And I just wanted to say before we leave that Malvern Books has very generously agreed to offer 20% off all these books in translation which are available tonight. This is a wonderful opportunity If you figure out, you can, my math isn't very good, but I think you can buy 5 for the price of 4 or something like that. Great opportunity to expand your library. This was it for our Translators Day, and it really has been a wonderful event. When we were planning this, of course, we had no idea what would happen. We had hopes and dreams, of course, but I think we've more than exceeded our expectations. The room is full, as far as I'm concerned. The snacks were wonderful. The discounts on the books are terrific. I get no commission on this, you know. Kurt, Jamie, Liliana, Celeste, Ken, thank you so much. We obviously could not have done this without you, and your work inspires us all. Thank you for spending the time and sharing your work and your thoughts and your ideas. It's what we all need to continue doing what we do. Thank you again to Malvern Books. We really appreciate your hospitality tonight. And thanks to all of you for coming out and joining us. Happy Translators Day, and see you next year. Good night.